Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're going to talk about the biggest color changer of all the orchids that I have, or at least it should be. This is a new orchid that I just purchased. This is the Brassocatanthe Jairak Finch. P.S. Excuse my lisp. I promise it's gonna go away. I'm gonna remove whatever's in my mouth right now that gives me the lisp. But for this video, let's just bear with it, okay? So I purchased this orchid recently because the color will undergo a very dramatic color change. From purple, it should go pretty yellow. Now, color changing orchids are nothing new. I do have an older video on it, but all the orchids that color change in my collection are not super dramatic, not as much as this one is supposed to be. So we're gonna document the color change with this little flower. This orchid can put on more flowers than this, definitely, but this is the very first searchable that develops in my care. It took about 3 months or so. I have it for 3 or 4 months. So it's very fresh and it just opened yesterday. It was a little bit more purple than this. So we'll see from one day to the next how much it will change. So before we move on to tomorrow, don't forget to give this video a like if you end up enjoying it, and why not subscribe? I post multiple times a week and it's free. But if you're feeling extra about it, consider further supporting the channel by checking out the affiliate links down below, getting some merch, becoming a member, or using the super thanks option under my videos. Alrighty, so let's see how this orchid will look tomorrow, and we'll see if my lisp goes away. Hopefully, if not, then definitely in a few days it will go away. Here we are about a week and a half later, and the orchid is yellow. It is 100% yellow, you guys. There is just the tiniest hint of purple. And it's really shocking because it started out as a very deep purple. I didn't actually catch it in the very first day, but rather on the second day. So when it first opened, it was even purple. Not to mention the buds were super dark purple. So this plant also smells only in the nighttime, just like the Brassavolas. And throughout the days, yeah, it got lighter and lighter and lighter. Now, this is a very new plant. I just now have brand new roots. And this growth, you can see, is the tiniest one on the orchid. And this is due to the stress of shipping and changing environments and so on. But I do imagine that in the future, it will have even more blooms, maybe even more growths. So some of the blooms, depending on when they open, might actually be purple and some yellow. That would be amazing, right? So I'm very happy with this plant. Definitely recommend it if you want to have a color changing orchid. But speaking about color changing, for orchids it's not really something uncommon, and I do observe that the ones more prone to color changing are the ones that have a lot of anthocyanin pigment, which is the purple or red pigment. Now, I researched a little bit why plants generally change the color on their flowers, and I don't know if there is a definite answer. There are cases in which flowers change color after being pollinated, and sometimes, or most of the times, due to senescence, which is a fancy word for getting older. And this is exactly what happens to orchids. There is no way they get pollinated in the grow room, so their color change happens as the flower ages. And there are many orchids that do that. In my experience, there are a lot of cattleyas. So from a very full of anthocyanin flower, we went to something pale, right? But there are cases in which Cattleya flowers, and not only, but mainly cattleyas, open light colored, and then as they age, they get more and more intense. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure what happens there, because here we have loss of pigment, there we have accumulation of pigment. I guess it's the reverse, right? But also I do notice that with many orchids, the true coloration kind of settles after 2 to 3 days after flowers open. Of course, there are some orchids that only last a few days. Not the case there, but Phalaenopsis, Cattleyas, Oncidiums, and so on, typically they settle within 2 to 3 days. Also, fragrance settles within 2 to 3 days, so it takes a little while for the flower to fully mature, if you will. And of course, there are cases in which the orchids don't really change color or do anything at all, but generally, shape, color, scent with orchids settles in the 3rd day or so. Another fun fact though, and this I saw in some talks, some seminars, do you want to know where the anthocyanin or the purple pigment comes from? If you look at the parents, which let's just do that really quick. I don't know the parents by heart of the Jairak finch. Oh right, okay, it's a very complex hybrid indeed. But let's just take the first 6 parents, because the other ones are under 3%, so they don't matter all that much. If you look at the parentage, you will not see anything purple. We have the nodosa, which is white, greenish white, and everything else is yellow or orange. Well, in this hybrid and many other Brassavola hybrids, the purple pigment comes from the Brassavola, which is pretty amazing. And not only, the spots on the lip as well. Oh, let me double check. Yeah, there is no orchids with spots on the lip, but the Jairak finch has spots. This is another recessive gene, I guess, from the Brassavola. So the purple color and the spots, the lip, and a bit on the petals, this is coming from the Brassavola. Now the nodosa is a super popular species to hybridize with. I don't have the nodosa in bloom right now, but I have the cucullata, which is similar. You have to excuse the noise, is outside. My area became a zoo. Right, so here we have the cucullata. Let me put it against my t-shirt. This is pretty much how the Brassavola looks like as well, minus the shape. We have the very pale green petals and the white lip. And you don't see any spots, any purpleness, anything of the sorts. Well, from what I understand from these hybridizers, when you cross a Brassavola nodosa, you most likely, or you could get these genes to show more, the purple color and the spots, which is absolutely amazing. It's also bizarre because as a species, they don't actually need those spots on the petals or the purple coloration because they are nighttime fragrant orchids, which means they have night pollinators, moths. And in the nighttime, you need to be as white and reflective as possible, not purple. So it's kind of strange that they'd have that recessive gene. Maybe to a hybridizer it makes more sense. Maybe it has to do with the evolution of species in time and what genes remained from the original ones. Maybe as a species this one first did not have a nighttime scent or anything. Maybe it was a daytime flower, and in time, you know, it adapted to the conditions that it had in its natural habitat. But hybridizers can bring to life all of these recessive genes with orchids, and maybe that's why the anthocyanin pigment does not last. Maybe it actually has to do with the Brassavola. I will try to pay attention to other color changers and see if they have the Brassavola in their parentage, see how they behave. But for now, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, so that's about it for this talk. Thank you so much for listening to me. Tell me, what other orchids do you have in your collection that change color? I personally love these orchids. I'd love to have more of them in my collection because it's a bit like cheating. You start off with one color, you enjoy a purple orchid, let's say, and you end up with a yellow one, right? So you kind of get 2 in 1. Let me know other orchids down below in the comments. I'm really curious. Do check out the description for the other color changers that I have. And before I let you go, if you're interested in videos regarding other plants, including aquatic plants, aquascaping, aquariums, and so on, check out my second channel. I'll link you to it down below. If you scroll down, it's always linked. Most importantly, for orchid related stuff, subscribe to this channel. So with that said, I'll see you all next time. Bye!